Hello and welcome back to the Mindfully Gay podcast. I am John.
I'm Jerry.
We're so glad to be here. And we've been pretty excited about a lot of the topics that we've been talking about lately. And this one in particular, we've been talking behind the scenes about. It's like, yeah, this will be a good one. And this one is on pleasure. Desire, pleasure. Like how I said that?
Yeah, you're rolling your shoulders.
I'm doing a little shimmy.
You need a boa.
I do need a boa. Do a little shimmy and a shake with my shoulders here. So yeah, pleasure is going to be our topic today, Jerry.
Well, and I like that this actually came from, I get this weekly newsletter from an astrologer. And he always has really interesting twist on things. And the topic that he suggested or wrote in this newsletter was pleasure as spiritual practice.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Oh, and that's just going to flip a few wigs. Well, and the point...
There we are.
Where'd that come from?
It sounds like your phone.
What are you doing?
Phone's trying to talk
My
to him.
crotch is ringing.
Woo! With pleasure.
I didn't have it turned off, but now it's turned on.
He's turned on it, ladies and gentlemen.
What was I saying? But if you think about this concept, pleasure as spiritual practice, that is so counterintuitive
right.
to the primary narratives that religion throws at us that would suggest that sexuality pleasure is a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm. You would think that they would coincide with each other and they blend together and they are mutually, compatible. Exactly. Yet that's not what we've been taught.
Yeah.
That they not even run alongside each other. They're like two different borders. I mean, two different territories that don't even cross lanes. I mean, that's what we've been taught. Pleasure and pleasure and sacred practice. You just don't hear those in the same sentence.
Right. And then throw into the mix queer and gay.
Yeah.
Like at least religion says procreation is valued.
Yeah.
Chastity is valued. But if you're gay or lesbian or queer or whatever, you're just not even allowed in the room.
Yep.
So I find this to be a provocative topic in terms of how do we shift the paradigm in which we celebrate, embrace our sensuality, our pleasure.
Yes.
And we'll get into this later, but then I like the idea that what happens when we consider pleasure as part of a spiritual practice?
Exactly. And how do you do that? How do you make that
You practice.
You just practice over and over and over again.
As much as you can. Where do we take? I think we need to... I'm just kind of drawing from my practice, my clinical practice, and I'll just make some observations. At one point in our history, maybe in the early 2000s, New York declared methamphetamine as an epidemic in the gay man community. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I certainly, in my practice, saw a lot of people coming into my practice who were addicted to methamphetamine and party and play, meaning, getting high and engaging in sexual play became tandem.
Yeah, right.
And I always thought how interesting, because as I would work with these clients, it almost felt like I have to be high to access my pleasure, my sexuality, my sensuality.
Yeah.
And if I'm high, then my inhibitions are gone and I can go where I want to go. And so it's interesting, the challenge of sobriety then, for many of these men was, how do I reclaim and explore and own pleasure in my body? And it's interesting how many of them felt like they couldn't do it without meth.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the same can go for alcohol, just drinking alcohol, lowering inhibitions, feeling like that's going to give a person just the opportunity to express themselves a little bit more freely, a little bit more open, and seek pleasure and have sex with another person, perhaps.
Yeah.
And to your point, when those things are not present, there's this idea that, oh my gosh, how do I access my pleasure? How do I access that part of myself without these external things, whether it's meth or alcohol or something else? It's like they don't know how to tap into that without those elements, which is pretty fascinating. But I think pretty, like you said, pretty profound, I think, in our community, where I think it's been a challenge for gay men, I'll just say, to express themselves freely and to find access to their pleasure and joy and intimacy, all those things.
Yeah, we're both kind of using this language of lowering inhibitions. And so I'm wondering,
it's interesting, yeah.
What is the barrier? Like why do inhibitions have to be lowered in order to access?
Perhaps another word, and it's things that we've talked about before. At least what comes to mind for me are things like shame, guilt, embarrassment. I mean, just lots of these heavier emotions and mindsets, I think, become the walls, become the limit, or those things that we want to inhibit. Those become the obstacles for some people. And to lower that guard, or to remove or kind of get through whatever that obstacle is, some external thing like alcohol or a drug or something needs to be taken in order to feel like they can access all of that.
Yeah, so maybe my question then is, what are the obstacles? Because as you're talking, I'm thinking, I work with a lot of clients, gay, straight, across the entire sexuality continuum. And I don't know that I hear cis heterosexual people struggling with accessing their sexuality in the same way that I might hear gay men coming out of the closet, gay men who've been out of the closet for a while but are using substances. Like there is a difference, and I'm just wondering what might be the peculiar obstacles that we see. Like I think the low-hanging fruit here, especially in Utah, where people are so deeply indoctrinated with Mormonism, where masturbation as a teenager is considered a sin that one must confess to a bishop who takes notes about everything you're sharing. Right? But can I tell you how many clients I've had who come into my office because of the shame they have about masturbating as a teenager because of some of that early indoctrination.
Exactly.
And certainly if I grow up in an environment where anything other than heterosexuality is valued, right? Then there's always this template. There's always this consciousness that if I am gay or queer in some regard, I'm immediately registering the wrongness of it. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I haven't had breakfast.
It just seems like through the course of history, I don't know, there's been, many points in the timeline where homosexuality, or the act of, that, it has been squashed or attempted to be squashed, where I mean, you mentioned, the epidemic of, methamphetamine use in the early 2000s. We can go back, several decades to HIV and AIDS. That was another kind of big place where, oh, here's something else we can now kind of squash the gay men community into thinking and knowing that their sexual acts are forbidden, and God is saying,
God's wrath.
yeah, God's wrath, and you're punished for that. So it's another obstacle, another one of those things that we feel like we got to unbind ourselves to kind of get through. And we could probably go back in time even more with those same kinds of things, where the attempt to express ourselves freely, our joy, our passion, our pleasure, have been the attempt to smother that out of existence.
Yeah. And so, we just released our podcast on internalized homophobia.
Yeah.
At the end of April. And I think in many regards, here's a good example of whether we're conscious of it or not, we've somehow gathered the momentum of that history, the momentum of those judgments.
Yeah. That makes sense.
We talked about religion, but right now politics are certainly demonizing us and marginalizing our existence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All these things come into play. And I would even argue that within our own community, devices like the apps, right? They don't encompass pleasure as much as getting off, which are two different things.
I think you're right. Yeah, they can certainly put into two. They overlap, but they can certainly be put into two different categories.
And I would argue, and you counterpoint this if you want. I think it's very difficult to access pleasure and sensuality in a hookup. I think you can have sex, can even be good sex, but I think there's a component of familiarity, connection that amplifies the ability to access pleasure.
I might counter that a little bit, because I think if someone knows how to access that from within, their pleasure and intimacy, even if they're just having a hookup, they may not, be on the same page in an intimate way with that partner, but I think from within, they can access their own pleasure and intimacy, connection and joy in that experience. I say that because in my tantric work with the guys that come to my classes, that's kind of what I'm teaching them to do, to find a closeness, a new self-acceptance regarding their intimate self, their sensual bodies, their sensual beings, through self-touch, through masturbation, through that connection, through breath work. And as they develop that fortitude really around their own sexuality and the expression of such just solo, with practice, I think that's something they can take with them into any situation, but also into other sexual situations. Even though their partner or partners may not have that, they can go in with that. So I think it can be possible.
Edit. No. Well, here's what I'm thinking. Certainly self-pleasure, right? I become familiar with my body, connect with my body. But I'm thinking, if I have a partner who can meet me in that space, I think it can be a lot more expressive and accessible. I don't know about those anonymous kind of connective moments. Like I may have a lot of insight and fortitude around that and be able to access it.
Yes.
But if I have someone who just wants, this whole new thing about a cum dump, like,
Do you not think that you still could access? Yeah, let me go back because I do agree. If the two of you were kind of on the same
Yeah.
page, I think that amplifies kind of the intensity and the emotional energy in that experience, whatever you may be doing. Yes, I do agree with that. But I think you can also come in solo with that. It'll be maybe not as intense or as amplified, but I
Mhm.
think someone can come in with, the feel like, well, this is just, a fuck and go, but I'm going to access the pleasure and joy for me at least. Maybe not in the same way this other person is, but I know how to do that for me, so I can have the most pleasurable experience that I can in that situation.
Do you know, maybe where I'm hung up, and this could just be my own kink, um, I need to know part of my pleasure, my ability to access my own spaces of pleasure is to have some kind of reciprocated experience that the person I'm with is receiving something. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And so if it's kind of like just someone's ass up kind of a thing, it's like,
Okay, yeah,
eh.
yeah.
But if I can experience someone through sound, through touch, through eye contact, that tends to elevate the medicine.
Yeah. Yes.
That elevates it for me, and so that just may be my peculiar pleasure access point. Is I have to have some sense that what is happening and being created is reciprocal.
Right, get it. And
Even if someone just wants to be used,
yeah.
at least I know I'm meeting a request.
Right.
I'm so codependent.
Yeah. No. And I don't think it's peculiar to want that and to desire that. I would really want that for all parties, really, to like the two or three or whoever can come together in that fullness of the expression of this medicine, because it really is. Yeah, I'm getting chills just thinking about it, because that's what really brings the experience alive, brings you and your partner really alive, and to celebrate in that fullness. I do believe that. So I don't think that's peculiar to desire that at all. But I just think that it can happen. It can be a little bit more. It can be one-sided. It may not be as full as that other experience.
Yeah.
Because I know personally, I would want kind of that full experience, and I have this deeper connection with my partner, and that we can elevate this moment together. Yeah.
And maybe like there's certain kinds of play that I find peculiar, but again, you'll hear the theme here in a minute. People who are wearing the puppy mask, people who are like wearing a mask and only have a hole in their mouth. And I'm thinking, those things don't really do anything for me, because I can't see your face. I can't take you in when there's this barrier.
Gotcha.
And maybe there's a kink or some kind of access, but I'm just saying, for me, that's what short circuits my ability to access pleasure.
Right.
Yeah.
Got you thinking, huh?
Gotcha. And thank you for joining us.
Woo! Is it hot in here?
I got the cigarettes. No.
Oh, right. Oh gosh.
So let's see if we can. Pleasure. Like, is there a difference between when we talked about doing this topic? When I'm working out, I kind of imagine processing this at the gym. But is there a difference between pleasure and sensuality, pleasure and eroticism, pleasure and kink? Like, to me, this concept of pleasure, does pleasure always have to be sexual? I kind of like it, but I mean, I'm just kind of, this word pleasure is titillating to me. Like it stimulates something when I hear that word.
Right.
And then when I think about, eroticism to me has a very different feel than sensuality, intimacy. right? There's all these variables.
There are.
And so I wonder if we need to come to an agreement or an understanding of what do we mean by pleasure?
Right. As you were talking, I get this image in my head, kind of like some kind of Venn diagram or something, where like pleasure and joy are kind of top of the pyramid, so to speak, and which because they're kind of general, they're pretty broad, right? Joy, pleasure, because a lot of things could bring you joy, a lot of things can make you happy, a lot of things could be pleasurable. And I think if we took the spokes down that umbrella, so to speak, something like erotic sex might bring you joy, might bring you pleasure. Just like eating a wonderful piece of chocolate cake could be pleasurable for somebody, could bring you joy, just make you feel good. So I think there's a lot of things that can.
I feel guilt.
There's a lot of things that can create or stimulate or fuel joy and pleasure. But since we're kind of talking about, we seem to be talking about kind of this sexual plateau or that ring of things that can bring us pleasure. So yeah, I think there's another level of, well, even intimacy. Intimacy can come in many forms. It doesn't have to be sexual. It might just be holding hands or just looking into someone's eyes or just having a deep conversation with somebody. That can be quite intimate, not necessarily sexual. And does that bring you joy, or does that fuel joy and pleasure? I think so. And then you've got, sexual intimacy or sensuality through sexual expression. Absolutely. So that's kind of, I'm just starting to visualize it in my little brain.
Let's start that OnlyFans page.
9:45 a.m.
Well, thank you.
What is with all my little devices?
I know.
They're all turned off.
I know my things are going off too, which is kind of weird.
It's the moon. We have a full moon.
Oh, is that what's happening?
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm a little perplexed right now. Because there's so many variables. Here's what I think is the beauty of, and I'll focus on gay men, but I have a feeling lesbians and I think everyone outside of the heteronormative world and the cisgendered world probably can relate to this, because if you're queer, we have found lots of creative expressions around pleasure, joy, community, and even our sexuality.
Yes, absolutely.
I think we talked a while ago, my experience at Leather Pride, and it was one of the few places. I'm not a leather person. I was there by default, and I thought, why not? But I was so impressed with how eclectic the group was, and all these different body shapes and sizes, and there was this unspoken celebratory appreciation of each other's bodies and existence.
Yeah.
And age and size and gender identity didn't seem to be relevant.
Yeah.
And yet I found that to be a sexually titillating, even sensual on its own vibrational level, place to be.
Yeah.
It was enticing. There was flirtiness. There was community. I can appreciate people's connection to that.
Oh, yeah.
And then, right, our accepting, it seems like there's this acceptance of openness in relationships, openness in sexuality, community sexual, like taking like Morningwood and I was going to say Black Boots.
Black Boots, yeah.
Right? Two groups we have here in the Valley that explore sexuality.
Yeah.
Yeah, even your body sensual stuff, right? People know about that. They're interested in it. They show up to it. And I don't see the equivalent of that in this heterosexual community. And so I love that we have this piece. In fact, I feel a little underqualified to have this conversation because I don't know how connected I am to those sources.
I'm wondering.
Am I making sense?
Yeah, and something just caught my attention with these, like with Black Boots or Morningwood or my tantric classes, The Body Sensual. Are these ways that we are reclaiming our sensuality, reclaiming our sexual expression, reclaiming um, that part of ourselves? Because you said you don't see this in the heteronormative kind of culture so much, because in a sense, they don't have to reclaim that. That's just there, right? Where we have a history of it being, punished or squashed or downtrodden and all that stuff. And so we have kind of risen to the surface we got to almost like fight for it back and reclaim it. And we have these different outlets in order to reclaim it. Because another thing that kind of caught my attention or was thinking about, like it's almost like we've, at least I can speak personally, like I really didn't have a language for pleasure, especially as a younger person, much younger person, when I was just kind of discovering my sexuality.
In a Catholic setting.
In a Catholic setting, exactly. Where already knowing or being taught that homosexuality is a sin, it's wrong, and the expression of which will just send you straight to hell, right? It's like, well, I can't do that. So X out the pleasure, X out the joy in that fashion. So I really didn't develop a language in words like intimacy or sensuality. Those didn't come to mind at all when I did kind of sneak and have sex with somebody. I had to do it in secret. Don't tell, because that's shameful and you'll be, punished and all that stuff. So you had to keep all that quiet. And even when you had, or at least when I had encounters with people, you didn't even talk. It's like there was like no language, no communication. So I'm wondering if that has been, pushed through the timeline where we don't have a language around our sexual expression. We don't use these words. They seem to be quite foreign to people at times. And sometimes in some of these encounters, there's no talking at all. Rather than the fullness of the medicine that we can really bring forth through communication, through slowing down and the touch and all the above.
I think we keep saying the heterosexual community. What I'm guessing is there's a lot of heterosexual people in the closet when it comes to their freakiness.
Sure.
And I wonder, because it's interesting how many straight clients I've worked with who swing on the side,
right?
Or they, they're exploring alternatives to, the standard. And so I was, as you were talking, I thought, oh, it's interesting. They're kind of in the closet in that regard.
In that regard, yeah.
Yeah. And yet we as a community seem to be far more open and accepting to those possibilities. So we keep talking about the intersection of how Christianity, religion has, right, for you it was Catholicism, for me it was Mormonism, but we live in a culture that is dominated by Christian privilege, and how most mainstream religions are prohibitive around sexual expression and connectedness and authenticity at that level. So then if introducing this concept of pleasure as spiritual practice, right? I have some thoughts about this because there are lots of shamanic practices that harness sexuality and sexual energy. And I want to talk about that a little bit. But when we talk about owning pleasure, and I'll just, how do we incorporate pleasure as part of spiritual practice?
Yeah. I'd love to hear what some of the shamanic practices are.
Yeah, but any first impressions?
Well, I mean,
I scream, "Oh God," during sex.
what
Oh God. A little bit more butch than that, but
I mean, personally, what I've been experiencing personally, and through kind of teaching other men about sensuality through tantric philosophy, I'm learning so much. I'm learning so much that I'm learning that um, this is a source of medicine. This is a source of healing, empowerment. And my brand is embody. To embody this, to feel this fully, through your whole system, and you can live in this energy. It's tantric is an energetic building. It's a way of tapping into energy and expanding that. And we can do that in many ways. I do it through breath work, touching self, masturbation, connecting with others, eye contact, slow sensual touch, just to start building upon that expression. And so, I mean, that's kind of been my personal journey, um, knowing that, well, I know that this is just one way. This is just one way to kind of tap into that. I know there's got to be more ways, and ancestral kinds of ways. Maybe this is something that was taught in different forms, different fashions in other cultures, and certainly different times, and how it's kind of come down the timeline. So I'm curious, like, what else out there is there to help embody that part of self?
well, here's the thing: it's incredibly diverse. There's lots of variations to this. Um, Everything from spending time with radical fairies has been a really interesting exposure to more contemporary pieces of accessing that medicine. But even in traditional practices, like in South America, it's if you think about our system of energy points, right? A lot of us use the word chakras,
Yes.
right, and it's become very new agey, but it is a legitimate source of energy,
Yeah.
right? From throat chakra to solar plexus, and then there's a root chakra,
Yep.
right? And so in South America, a lot of the shamans there, for instance, we just went to Peru and did several ceremonies with ayahuasca, and the shaman explained to us that how he prepared for us is that he abstained from any sex or sexual pleasure for 2 weeks, kind of reserving and holding on to that energy, so that when he was in the service of administering the ritual, he could draw from that energy and exude it into it didn't involve any touching.
No.
It didn't involve, but it was just a consciousness of holding on to that energy. And the way that he explained it is, if I were masturbating or if I were having sexual engagements, I would be diluting the medicine that I could bring to the ritual. And so in that case, it was kind of like a reserve.
Yeah.
And I have known in South America, right, shamans and curanderos who are looking to help in healing or administration, and they'll talk about drawing that energy through the root and going into the person.
Exactly. Yeah.
In some other traditions, a lot of sacred items, right? So if you and I were engaged in some kind of sexual practice and we were very focused on, we're going to activate this medicine bundle, for instance, then our sexual energy, we develop that, we create it between the two of us.
Right.
And then at the point of orgasm or release, we focus that energy into the item.
Yeah.
And I tell people frequently, be careful what you pick up on my altar. Right? Because right? There's a literal transference
Yes.
of what
Mm.
we're creating together.
Mhm.
And if you will, it's like the energy that we create, we're giving birth, we're giving life to this inanimate object. And it
Mhm.
now holds that energy. And so if I shake that rattle or work with that medicine item, that energy then, and so it feeds, if you will, those items then feed off of the energy that we bring into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
I love this. I love this.
I,
And, and just a quick point. I hope folks are listening to this because this may sound new to you. And I think it's really important because we have this power and energy and magic, and we can access this. And there's ways like this that you can.
well, if you look at the native history around two-spirited people,
Mhm.
right? And we've talked about that in the past, but just to remind people that in a lot of indigenous societies, what we call queerness was seen as special giftedness, if you will.
Yeah. Mhm.
And many times these were the medicine people. And so this has been documented in different historical texts.
Mhm.
But Geronimo, for
Mm.
instance, before he would go into battle, he would couple with his two-spirited lover. They didn't have any concept of sin or right or wrong.
Right.
And so what Geronimo knew is that this person, when he coupled with them, gave him warrior power.
Yeah.
And so he would couple with his medicine people, if you will,
Mhm.
and then go into battle because he
Mhm.
felt like somehow he was protected.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I get chills.
Yeah. And so, what I've learned, and there's so much more to share, right? I can tell you a personal example. My husband and I, when we were fairly young in this process, one of our elders talked to us about how to work with sexual magic.
Mm.
And we, in our bedroom, created an altar space, which was candles and incense, but we created and dedicated a space because what we wanted was a new home, a home that would allow us to host community and ritual and ceremony. We were very clear about our intent. And when we coupled at that point of orgasm, it's like we sent out into the universe that intention, like it got power boosted.
Yep.
And you've seen our houses since
Mhm.
then. And I tell people all the time, I'm a social worker. Neither one of us are walking around with an abundance in our pockets. And yet somehow the perfect houses, the perfect properties have shown up that allow us privacy, allow us ritualistic space, allow us to have significant community and family events.
Yes. Everything
Everything that we put forth in that initial intention continues to show itself. And I sometimes get a little, I don't want to sound moralistic, but I just think if we could harness a dozen gay men and really explore this concept of sexual magic, because I think a lot of us are just kind of like wild ass shotguns, like we're just shooting everywhere, no pun intended, right? And we're not giving any thought about the power and the energy that we're releasing. What happens when we come together in mindful connectedness? Like we could get rid of Donald Trump. We could just orgasmically send him away.
You don't think I've already been working on that? No.
It's going to take more than you, hon.
It takes a tribe.
But am I making sense?
Absolutely, because what you described when you were talking about kind of manifesting your home with your partner in this way, that's ritual. That was magic. That was sacred ritual intentionality around the sacred act of sex, and the culmination of all of that. And you were quite right. I mean, quite literally, we're just shooting our loads out there without without intention. It's just out there.
You said load.
Yeah, I did. But if there was a consciousness and an intentionality
Yeah.
around that ritual and see it as ritual
Yeah.
and practice and sacred, then something, again, this is that language. These are words we just don't apply to this. But if we did that, shift the dynamic, shift the narrative, as you demonstrated, I'm still getting chills. It's so magical, so powerful in what can manifest.
But you know what I think is interesting, and you can, because you've been running with the body central stuff for a while now and the tantric stuff. It seems like it's interesting how many people hesitate to be involved in something, even though everything that we're doing is not sexually oriented. But there is this idea of, well, what if it turns that way? That's like, well, celebrate it.
Yeah.
No.
Embrace it. Welcome it.
Yeah. And so like here we sit on this wealth of power, this wealth of medicine, this wealth of potential communal connection, and yet we seem afraid of it.
Yeah. We still, like I was saying earlier, we've separated the two. They're just on two different timelines.
Yeah.
And it's hard, I guess. It has been hard, a challenge to bridge the two. It's like, do they go together? Can they go together? Well, find out what happens if you do.
Yeah.
Be curious.
I think I know we talked about our pride ritual, but now I'm thinking it would be interesting for us to like identify 6 people that we know who would have the flexibility and their morality and their consciousness to participate and to create a circle in which sensuality is celebrated versus sexuality.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I think they're going to go together, but I think when we talk about having a sex party is very different than let's create an energetic field of sensuality. Do you remember, this always sticks out for me, but when we were doing Queer Spirit and we did a Body Central workshop, we must have had probably 14 guys show up. There was a good number of people.
I remember
we had some nice music going. We're on the massage tables and all this energy was being created. A lot of erotic energy, sensual energy. It wasn't sexual, it was sensual. I mean, that's how and I remember at the very end of it, we stood around in this group circle. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
We were all holding hands, kind of hugging each other.
Very clearly.
And we just very consciously accumulated that energy. And we visualized this ball of energy that we were engulfed in. And then we all collectively, consciously sent it to the world. And I know when I send out that kind of energy, I feel it from my toes up through my body, through the crown of my chakra, out.
Yes.
And that moment was so beautiful. It was so connective. And I can still remember some of the faces of the people that were there.
Yeah.
Even though I don't think we've ever seen them since. But there was a brotherhood, there was a healing, there was something very transformative in that moment.
Yes.
And we got the privilege to send it out.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that?
I very clearly, because that was, pretty significant. And that was early, like you said, this was Queer Spirit. This was kind of early on in this experiment.
And it was intergenerational.
Yeah.
We had people in their 20s up until their seniors. We had all kind of body shapes, all kind of body sizes. None of that seemed relevant. What was relevant was, because it was a lot of massage. And so it's like, how do I pleasure you? And how do you pleasure me? And how do we reciprocate and collaborate around that?
Yes.
That was deep. In my mind, that was very deep ritual.
Ritual. Ritual. It's magical. It's sacred. It's, celebratory.
Yeah.
All of these words that we really need to reclaim and reintegrate into our expression of self, our radical self-expression, right? It's self-acceptance even. And another little example, I've been doing the tantric work, and one of the things I talk about as we're kind of getting things going, I talk about the chakras, I talk about breath work and that energy production, and I said, and it's something I mentioned is, you can certainly do this by yourself, because we all, we masturbate. We often masturbate solo by ourselves, and you can certainly have some intentionality around that and do your own magic with that. But there's something quite powerful when we do it in circle, when we do it in group, in brotherhood,
Yeah.
like this, and the power, the energy that is resonating, that we're all creating, and like you just described with that experience back then, was we can kind of bundle it all up and with this circle of energy and bondedness, we can send it out into the world in a very profound way. There's something quite energetic and powerful when it's done in group like that.
Do you know, you and I are talking about this. We're kind of reliving it as we're talking about it.
Yeah.
We know what happened when we were in that particular space together. And I've been in other spaces with you, with your tantric and body sensual work, where I see that replicated over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that people who haven't participated, and I'm going to speak to those who are sitting there thinking, well, this is bullshit, right? And what I want to say to that person is, your judgment for or against this is interesting, but my question would be, what informed you to see it as less than magic? What informs you to sit in that place of judgment that says that's not appropriate? Because what I would argue is that's the byproduct of the domestication and the internalized stuff that we hold on to. I may choose to not participate in something like that, but if I have to justify not participating by labeling it through the lens of a judgment, then I would suggest that we're still seduced by the cultural narrative that says there's something wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely, because I get feedback sometimes. Maybe you've heard this too. Like I do these the body sensual massage groups, the tantric work, and those who haven't participated, some of the comments are, oh, that's just an excuse for sex. That's just an excuse for an orgy, for a sex party. That's all it is. And I think it's in that.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's in that same vein of
Yeah.
of somewhere you're labeling that as wrong.
Right. Yeah. So if it is an orgy, which I'm just clarify, I've never participated in anything that you do that I would define as an orgy, because it is intention. It's built around intention.
Mm-hmm.
And in all of the processes I've done with you and what we did, that 65% of our time is spent talking and deconstructing and getting to a place of moving beyond the obstacles we were talking about earlier.
Right.
So that we liberate the energies in our body that say, no, I can't do that.
Yep.
Right? When I give myself permission to receive pleasure, to receive sensuality, when I let my nervous system enjoy it, then it becomes this power and this energy. And I don't think it's just about pleasure and sensuality. Can I allow my body to receive abundance? Can I allow my body to receive compliments? Can I allow my nervous system to incorporate joy and freedom and liberation and self-acceptance? Right? It's not just around sexuality. Now we go back to the word pleasure. Now suddenly, it's all incorporated.
It is. It gives just the word pleasure deeper meaning.
Yeah.
And so much depth to it because of what we can do with it and how to access it, to receive it, as you said, and to give it. Learn how to give it. Learn how to receive it.
I think, look, if you look at pre-colonial ideas around how Native people were in relationship with the queerness of the people in their tribes. Frankly, I think when the Christians and colonizers came, they already had their wigs up in a bonnet and they were already kind of tied up and uptight. And so when they saw, right, it was just easier to label it and judge it.
Yeah.
They went to great lengths to eliminate it.
Yes.
Right? To exterminate the queerness.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but to wonder if the reason they did that is they recognized the power that these people were carrying for their communities.
They were afraid of it.
And so we have to short circuit, to have control, we have to short circuit the source of that power.
Yeah. They were afraid of it.
Yeah.
Because here they were trying to overpower and take over, and getting some inkling of their power. It's like, well, we better, neutralize that or they're going to take over us. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so exactly that. And because of that, I think, I'm just hypothesizing and just kind of playing with this, that gets into our DNA, that has gotten into our DNA.
Yep.
And the narrative. And it's just kind of this little string of, this weird belief that has just kind of crept through time to the present moment. But as you know, we've kind of talked about this. When we do these rituals and do this kind of work, whether it's sweat lodge or pipe or these kinds of rituals and things like that, and when we've, like with Ruben and your other teachers, we've talked about it, we're shifting our DNA. We are changing our DNA. And I certainly believe that, and I think you do too.
I
We've certainly
do.
experienced that. And so if we can shift the DNA and eradicate that part of the DNA that says this is wrong, or the expression of your sexuality and sensuality is wrong, and dissolve that completely, then yes, we are so free to be our natural selves without that inkling of that lie that has been in our timeline for all that time.
I want to read a couple of these questions because when we set up our Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and blah, blah, blah.
All the things.
Yeah. We want to pose particular questions that people can respond to. And so I'm going to read these and kind of space them out so that he can edit them appropriately. But I think I loved these questions, and I think we should consider them.
Please,
right?
Yes. I love this.
So one question we would want to ask our listeners is, what pleasures have we denied ourselves? Chocolate cake. But what pleasures have we denied ourselves? Maybe because of fear, inhibitions, uptightness, fear of what others will think or say or do, how others might respond, how we might be judged. Something causes us to self-censor. And so what are those pleasures that we deny ourselves? Now, what pleasures genuinely nourish your spirit? What pleasures nourish your spirit? I gave an example to a client the other day. We weren't talking about pleasure. Actually, we were talking about the concept of joy. And I love listening to music that inspires me. And so there are certain songs that will cause me to reflect on relationship connections, friendships, family, where I find myself in life. And there are times where that nourishes me because I go into this reflective space and I can find joy. If deeply spiritual experiences. I had a moment in your yoga class. It was one of your new yoga classes. Remember that one time I showed up? I had been kind of new in my workout world, and I thought, okay, I'm going to try John's class, and I was feeling pretty good about myself, and I got through that workout, and I remember driving home, just feeling this profound sense of gratitude and achievement. And that really nourished my spirit.
Exactly.
I don't know, do you have examples?
Yes, plenty, and I won't go into all of them, but I want to highlight that word nourish. I want to highlight that word nourish. What nourishes your joy, what feeds your pleasure, because I think that's so important, because I think that feeds your spirits, feeds your medicine, all of those things. And like you, there's many things that I have labeled, I guess, ways to fuel my own joy. Like when you came over before we recorded this, what was I doing?
You were dancing.
I was dancing, I was playing music, I was doing my little DJ stuff.
Patti LaBelle.
That feeds my entirety so much. Music is prime in my life. And when I'm feeling down or I just need a boost or something, it's a song or just music in general, but it could be a particular song with a certain beat or lyrics or something that just feeds me in a wonderful, powerful, magical way. Food, baking and cooking are things that for me really fuel and nourish my spirit. And I really want to offer that to our listeners. Certainly think about, well, what does nourish you, what feeds you, because it could be things like that. It may not be sexual or sensual at first. You might identify those things that fuel you in other ways. And I just like to ask people, I certainly have done this with my clients, like, what makes you happy? What brings you joy?
Yeah.
Just very simply, what do you do that you just could do all day? You don't have to worry about time, or, it might be reading. It might be taking a walk in nature. It's writing or poetry, or it could be anything that makes you feel good, that makes you feel happy. Those are those seeds that you are planting to fuel the spirit within you.
Well, see, when I came over this morning, I thought you were going to say the thing that nourishes you is the crop top and the thong you were wearing.
Well, that too.
When you were dancing with the headphones.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah. Well, I'll even say, we're joking, but it could be what you wear.
Yeah.
How you identify or how you kind of present to yourself. That might bring you joy. Whether it's you color your hair purple, or you have these fun sunglasses you like to wear, or you have an outfit it just amplifies who you are. That's it. It's those things.
It really wasn't a thong, though.
He was being
now,
told.
here's the other question.
Please.
And again, I hope we can create a soundbite out of this, because when do you feel most alive, authentic, and free? When do you feel most alive, authentic, and free? If I were drawing from an example, I love going on a vigorous hike that will take me to a place where I can sit, be in nature, be quiet. I have a medicine pipe that I'll smoke. And there are times, if I just allow myself to be in that moment, feels profoundly authentic and free. There are times when I'm with friends and loved ones. Sometimes saying goodbye is a beautiful moment, because especially in our community, right? We love to hug and connect. And I love hugging my friends. And when it happens, I feel alive.
Yeah. And even thinking of that moment as a ritual, when we hug our friends, it's a bonding of sort. It's a ritual. I'm going to cry.
Be free.
Because it seems so simple and we can easily just toss it aside, but how powerful that is.
Yeah. Yeah. I told you this, well, maybe I haven't told you this story, but it's not uncommon when I have a lodge or a pipe, a lot of queer folks show up. And for queer folks, I sometimes feel like hugging is like the handshake. And when a lot of straight guys will come over, it's like, hi.
The hand goes out, right?
But if they're gay, and whether we just met them or have known them, it's always like there's a connection with a hug.
We
And I
hug.
love that.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm Italian. We hug anyways.
Yeah.
And I remember one time this straight friend who was just kind of like the epitome of macho heterosexual maleness, but he was kind of part of us, and he was kind of watching this.
Yeah.
And he goes, "How come I don't get hugs?" Well, I can give you a hug.
Come here.
So whenever he came over, he was part of the hugging ritual.
Yeah.
But there was something in that question that said, I'm hungry for connection with other men.
Yes.
There was nothing sexual or erotic about it. It was just about connection. I think there's a lot of male heterosexual wounding that looks for connection with other men in more intimate ways.
Absolutely.
That doesn't have to threaten one's heterosexuality.
Absolutely.
Again, I have this beautiful friend in Colorado who's like 9 feet tall. I love my brother, Bob. And he's as straight as they come, but he gives the best heart-centered, energetic hugs. Like I could just curl up in his hug for a good 40 minutes.
Right. Right.
I will take your energy.
Yes, please.
You know, and I'm hungry for that. I want more straight guy hugging. Just because.
Yeah. And to think of the magic and power that could create, and one of the things we could certainly have a whole topic around this, to introduce or reclaim, or what would happen if, more men in general shared intimate moments like that, just hugging, looking into each other's eyes, sitting face to face in conversation rather than side by side.
I wish more straight men could own the wounding of homophobia in their lives.
Yeah.
Because I think what's kept them from making those connections is the fear of being seen as gay. Yep. It's like,
there it is.
Boy, incorporate some of that beauty into your life. I borrow from straight people all the time.
Yeah.
They can. I'll lend some.
I'll sprinkle some of that out there, and especially if it brings, world peace. Yeah.
There's this. Oh, I can't find it. Damn it. Oh, I love this quote. Okay. I don't know if you read this or not. Maybe healing isn't only about processing pain. Maybe healing is learning how to fully receive joy and pleasure. Imagine that. And I think how many clients I've worked with who are so like, how do I get rid of something? It's like, let's not worry about getting rid of it. Let's figure out how to, what is the word? Embody the joy. Embody the pleasure. And so wow, we've gone everywhere. So pleasure as spiritual practice.
Yes.
And one of the concepts that came up in here, right, is how queer people embracing their pleasure becomes activism.
Yes.
Because the narrative that's tried to keep us in a box is about the wrongness of us. But if we're retaliating by becoming well-rounded people who embrace pleasure, that kind of fucks with that narrative.
It sure does. It certainly does.
Yeah.
Wow.
Daddy needs a shower.
Wow. Wow. What a great conversation. And we would love to have you part of this conversation. We feel like this is a big one. This is a doozy.
Can I say something?
Please.
I'm just really conscious. We talk about this space of being free and authentic. And what I find what happens in the podcast is we kind of start. And at some point, I feel liberated. I feel liberated in this relationship.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I think that's the magic that we build is at some point our inhibitions drop and then we're just allowed to be candid and honest,
just open. I'm so liberated. I get so recharged. And when I go to my next thing after this, I feel rich with.
I love that your friend loves us. She doesn't know us. only through the podcast.
Yeah.
But I kind of felt like a celebrity with her.
She thinks we're celebrities.
Keep doing that. We'll love it.
Right. Yeah, please. We would love to hear what you're thinking, what you're feeling. Those questions that Jerry posed, we'd love to, read your comments on all the platforms. TikTok, Mindfully Gay, on Instagram, that's at mindfully_gay. Facebook, that's Mindfully Gay Guys. Mindfullygay.com is our website. Go there because you'll see our calendar of events. So you can see just, we can have some activities together. Go bowling, roller skating, movie night, hiking, all those wonderful things, retreats, etc. So, but mainly, thank you for watching, for listening, and any last words, Mr. Jerry?
No.
All right. Well, well, with that, until next time, we will see you next time on the Mindfully Gay podcast. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Mindfully Gay podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This way you won't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes, where we continue to explore fascinating topics and share meaningful stories. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next episode.